Hey everyone. So I got my package in that I was talking about earlier and I'm so excited. I got my water boiling. I'm making me buckwheat whole grains, I guess. So I have a 1 cup of water boiling with a little bit of sea salt, and I'm adding these buckwheat grains. I've never done this before. This is new to me, but I've discovered buckwheat lately, and I'm making Himalayan tartary buckwheat pancakes a lot of times. I love them, and I was going to make a video about how to do that, but I realized I don't have any eggs. I just boiled them all earlier because I boiled a whole bunch for my week, so I always have them in the mornings to go with my pancake, this is gonna boil over. Hold on. Oh my goodness. One thing about buckwheat, it likes to boil and foam a lot, even when I make my soba noodles, which are, see, you have to be very careful here. Turn this down and set the timer to, let's say, 12 minutes. It's set 10 to 15. We'll start in the middle. That's what I do when I bake. And I added half a teaspoon of Himalayan sea salt to it. It's the recipe on the back. This is just what I ordered. I don't know. You can, I'm not doing brand stuff, but it's buckwheat, gluten-free, organic, and I also like these 100% buckwheat soba noodles. I love those. I just boil them and I mix them with a little bit of almond butter and cashew butter, just a little bit. And I don't know, at first it seems weird, but it's amazing. And then just add a little bit of salt, and it's really, really good. I sometimes add that just as a side thing for my dishes when I don't have any other starchy sides, because my starches are really low. And the pancakes I make with the Himalayan tartary buckwheat flour, but evidently I can't make that today because I don't have eggs, so I'm sorry. I will have to make that another time. But this is now supposed to boil for 10 minutes, and I don't know, has any of you guys do you cook with buckwheat? It's a really, healthy, phytonutrient dense, gluten-free option, I guess. Especially the Himalayan tartary buckwheat flour. I guess this is different. I'm not sure exactly what the difference is between Himalayan tartary buckwheat and buckwheat. I have to Google that. But I will try it either way, because for tomorrow, maybe before I have to go to work, it'll make it quick. Maybe I can take it along with me as my breakfast. Okay, now it's not boiling quite enough, maybe. It probably needs 15 minutes. I don't know if this is gonna get bigger, or it looks interesting. Anyways, we'll see what it comes out to be. And then I think I'm gonna add a little bit of Ceylon cinnamon to it too, because I don't know, it might taste a little bland, I'm guessing, without it. And I don't have any more berries at the house either. I really, really have cut my sugar down. It seems to, sugar seems to be the #1 issue, I guess, or not issue, but cancer, everything, inflammation. So as I'm learning more and more, I'm cutting more and more sugar out. And with sugar, I mean anything spiking blood sugar. I mean flours, starches, fruits, anything, honey, anything. It's not just white sugar. I mean, I don't even eat that at all. That is completely gone in my diet. I've cut that out completely. I don't even cheat, honestly. I mean, I baked like 1,500 cookies for Christmas for my coworkers. Made little Christmas cookie boxes for everybody, about 20 cookies in each box and stuff. I had like 6 or 7 different varieties, all my German recipes, but they were regular gluten, flour, sugar, like you eat. I didn't eat any of it. I don't even lick my fingers anymore. I just bake it. It's because I like to bake. For me, baking is an art. It's like a maybe a sculpture. I like to bake. I like to create it. I like it to be pretty, presentable, and I like to take ingredients, mix them together, and make something out of it. But that doesn't mean that I have to eat it, or I'm even interested in eating it. So I just bake, and then I'm happy if some other people want to eat it. So sometimes I have to force people, please, don't you want another piece? Because anyways. So sugar is completely gone. Flour, as far as gluten, is completely gone on my diet. And I'm assuming, I know the sugar does good. I don't know about the gluten. I still get joint pain. I still feel stiff and achy when I get up in the mornings. My job, I work at the deli in the Publix making subs and sandwiches, and I don't know, at walk sometimes. I have to stay on for hours, sometimes my shifts are 9-10 hours long, so, and I get a break maybe of an hour. So I'm on my feet like 4 or 5 hours, and then maybe a little break, and then another 4 or 5 hours. So I'm standing a lot, and it's a lot of walking, moving. It's very physically on my feet. So, but I still feel like I do get joint pain, like in my hands a lot. Like even now, when they hurt a little bit, not severely, but they're definitely not pain free completely. My muscles feel achy, like kind of like a fibromyalgia kind of thing. I'm sure you all know about that when you have autoimmune disease. And I'm trying to figure out what that is. I'm dairy free for the most part. Once in a great while I have some maybe goat or sheep cheese, very seldom though. Once in a great while I like to go to BurgerFi, because they have 100% grass-fed meat, and I get their bacon cheeseburger, and I just eat it with the cheese. I get the bacon cheeseburger in lettuce wrap with tomato and raw onions. So it's literally just meat, bacon, that one slice of cheese, onion, and lettuce, and tomato. And I eat that, and it's awesome. And I feel, is it weird? I feel better after I eat that burger. For some reason, whatever's in there, I don't know if it's the meat or what, but I kind of feel better for a little while. Always notice that. I just can't figure out why, because I eat grass-fed finished beef at home, and I don't have the same, I don't know, get the same feeling, I don't think. And but other than that, I'm dairy free completely. Not that I was a very big dairy eater to begin with, actually, but I did have yogurt on and off and stuff like that. I don't have any of that. I just literally, meat and vegetables, fresh vegetables mostly, or frozen, like broccoli. I buy frozen. It's supposed to be better because it already breaks down some kind of cells or whatever and releases something, kind of like the garlic has to sit. So when you freeze broccoli, it kind of does that thing for it already. And yeah. And other than that, I don't really, my one item I think that has done me the best help dietary wise, I think, is cocoa powder. I eat that every day, and I mix it in with my nut butter and a little bit of honey. I got the Manuka honey, just a tad to sweeten it up. I make a batch that lasts me for at least 4 or 5 days, the recipe that I make. And in that whole recipe is like maybe 20 grams of honey, sugar in there. So sugar, not honey, sugar, because it's 15 grams per tablespoon. So yeah, it's it comes out to maybe like 3 grams, 2 grams a day or whatever in the end. I don't know when I eat it, but I eat that almost every day, and that helps me immensely, I feel, to stabilize my blood sugar, so I can make those long shifts at work. Because when I started at Publix a year ago, which today is my anniversary, my 1 year, I could barely make it through 4 hours. That was a struggle. Even standing on my feet, you know what I mean? The 4-hour shift when I started in the beginning was very, very rough. And my legs were hurting, my knees were hurting. Those are one of my biggest issues, is my hips, my legs, and my knees. I have a lot of pain. And I've been very stiff. I'm exercising now. I'm doing balance ball, so it's improving. I have made some improvements, but it's been, the cocoa powder has been my savior. I take that with me, and I eat a couple teaspoons full, and it holds me so my blood sugar doesn't tank, because autoimmune, when you have that, you are running generally hypoglycemic, so you always have that problem of trying to keep it up so it doesn't go too low, which I realized it really quickly. All of a sudden I get shaky and I get weird, and I'm just like, I gotta get my blood sugar up. It's down in the bottom. So Cocoa powder, my secret weapon, I guess I want to call it. For me, I mean, not everybody. You know, some people can't have cocoa powder. I have friends that have autoimmune disease, and one of them says, I can't do anything cocoa because it makes me worse. So, you know, just because it works for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it works for me. But let me know what works for you. What's your best thing? What have you discovered that helps you stabilize your blood sugar the best? Because that's one of my biggest issues. And I still struggle with it. Sometimes, I don't know, I feel like I'm off whack and I can't figure out why. Make sure this is not burning. So the water's almost gone. And I just feel like I got off whack and I don't understand why that happened. So like sometimes when I get sick, it kind of throws me off. My digestion suddenly gets out of whack. And I do probably have still gut work to do, which, you know, autoimmune disease, inflammation, the gut kind of goes in hand. If you have autoimmune disease, I'm sure you have a bad gut. So it's kind of like what triggers a lot of it. And I've made improvements, but I still, if I get sick, I can tell my gut goes backwards a couple steps for some reason if I get like a cold or flu. And unfortunately, working in a deli at a store, grocery store, you're exposed to a lot of people with a lot of germs all the time, sneezing, coughing, whatever. So people sick all the time. So, but I fared actually really well. I had not one call out. I've not been late once. This whole year I've been working there. That was my goal, my first year completely. And I've been able to do every shift, some better than others, but I've always done all my shifts, never had to go home or, you know, had to call out for anything. And I'd have to add a little more water. I don't want it to burn. I don't know, it feels like it's burning. And then, you know, so I attribute that a lot to the cocoa powder too, just keeping my blood sugar stable. But it's not just that, you know. I probably have some SIBO going on. I don't know, maybe even candida. I'm looking into thyme and oregano right now, so those would be good for candida and you know, antifungal, I guess. So I'm adding fresh thyme and fresh thyme and oregano to a lot of my dishes all the time for everything. Like today, my ear's better. I don't understand. This morning when I got up, it got really bad, and then during the day it cleared up. It was like for 2 or 3 days now completely clogged. It was very frustrating. So, but it's better now. And then I don't know what I could add to this. Cinnamon, and I have to come up with something else. It's probably kind of plain otherwise. Probably add some nuts and seeds to it too. That might be good. Maybe I like to eat walnuts a lot. I eat like a handful, you know, like, you know, you kind of start your day with healthy fat fiber protein and you end your day with healthy fat fiber protein, which to me is usually a handful of walnuts, avocado, and I like to now put a little bit of sea salt, turmeric, and cayenne pepper on my half of avocado. I eat that before I go to bed, or a handful of nuts, pumpkin seeds, something like that. And then, you know, or you could eat a hard-boiled egg, anything that has healthy fat, fiber, protein, or even just a piece of meat, keep some back, you know, something like that. Or, I don't know, just good stuff. Not anything that is starchy or has sugar in it, or, you know, something like that is obviously not good. Fruit, don't do fruit before you go to bed. I used to have a banana because I used to think, oh, I have potassium issues and I need to eat potassium before I go to bed. Yeah, I realized that probably wasn't a good idea. So I stopped that. And sometimes though, because I come home really late when I close, it's like almost midnight. And I know you shouldn't be eating late, but I have to eat something. I cannot, you know, have been on, the last time I probably ate was 6 hours ago. And I can't then have all that physical work and activity, which I'm assuming, you know, that lowers your blood sugar when you're physically active. So I can't then go to bed without eating. So I have to have a little bit of a snack when I come home or something. And with a snack, I don't mean sweets. I mean, like I said, like nut seeds, or just, you know, maybe some of those soba noodles with a little bit of nut butter, because 0 sugar. Yeah, there's no sugar in those either. So because it's, you know, it's also buckwheat. And let me turn this off. Okay. That looks actually pretty good. Well, you can see this. I don't know if they got much bigger or anything, but I think I'm going to just add a little bit of that cinnamon to it, like maybe 1/8 of a teaspoon. Not too much. I'm really not a cinnamon. I hate cinnamon. It's like my worst nightmare, but it's so good for you, so I eat it. Yeah, it's like, but I buy the Ceylon cinnamon, right? Don't eat the cassia cinnamon that you get in the store, because that's really bad for you. So I already had some cinnamon this morning in my golden milk. I make my own golden milk now because I realized I bought this golden milk mix that comes ready with, you know, mushrooms in it and things like that. I realized I don't do well with ginger, which sucks because ginger is actually really good for your inflammation and stuff, but yeah, I can't do ginger evidently. It always bothers me and I get weird symptoms, like, yeah, I don't know. There's a certain amount of ginger I can do because those Himalayan tardy buckwheat pancakes have some ground ginger in it, but it's a very small amount if you then split it out over 14 pancakes that the recipe makes. So per pancake you don't have a lot of ginger. That I can do, but that drink had, I mean, a lot of ginger in it, I think, or something. It just didn't sit well with me. So now I have to, oh, that smells cinnamony. Yeah, anyways. But see, I've kind of removed myself from using food for pleasure. For me, food is literally just like medicine in a way. So I eat or take what I need to be better. And yeah, plus, like I said, I started some exercises now. I started out with just very simple, slow stuff. I mean, so minuscule that you probably think that it wouldn't be doing anything, but I think it did, little by little, because in 2021, right after I got the COVID vaccine, I got really sick, really, really sick. My knees were swollen. I couldn't walk. I was on crutches. I was on the couch for 8 months. My digestive system had shut down. I mean, I was just on the way out, I think. And yeah, and you know, I tried the conventional medicine and none of that didn't work. I had tons of blood tests, went from doctor to doctor, and they all couldn't really figure out what was wrong, other than that my inflammation marker was high, my CRP, because my knees were swollen, obviously. So inflammation, and you know, my joints were much sorer than they are now, but they couldn't really figure out what was wrong. I went to 2 rheumatologists, I went to cardiologists, I went to the endocrinologist, I went to my regular GP, I went to, I don't know, somewhere else. I went twice to the ER, thinking I was dying. They had done MRIs on my neck. You know, I'm thinking I have, and I'm still not sure. I mean, sometimes I think, do I have MS? Because I don't know, I have some symptoms that mimic it, you know. Myasthenia gravis, all these things that I'm sometimes like, I have those symptoms. Brain fog, you know, I mean, the whole 9 yards. I couldn't focus. My brain was just buzzing. I had food reactions that I couldn't eat anything, like 10 foods I would eat and I couldn't breathe, right? It was really bad. So I dropped 30 pounds. I was down to like about 100 pounds, or just maybe even below 100, barely. And I was just dropping and I couldn't figure it out. Everything was, I mean, the whole system was shutting down. It felt like everything, my nervous system, my digestive system, my cardiovascular system, POTS, I have POTS, right? PCOS, polycystic ovarian something syndrome. I don't know. I don't know the long word for it. Anyways, because I had cysts on my ovaries my life long. I just didn't know what it was. Anyways, so you know, I can eat a lot of foods again. I made a lot of progress since then. I eat pretty much everything except the things that I leave out, like gluten, dairy, sugar, but I can eat everything without having. I even had shrimp the other day, which was a big trigger. Chocolate was a big trigger. Anything high histamine, all these mast cell, right, reactions that a lot of people have. I had, oh gosh, I had so many things wrong. I mean, I couldn't even go outside because the world was just like an enemy to me. Even the wind touching the hair on my skin, which sent me in a nervous breakdown, panic attack. It was all this sensory overload. My brain couldn't because I think my brain maybe wasn't getting the nutrients or something, because I wasn't eating, because my digestive system wasn't working. I mean, I don't have it all figured out. I'm still trying to figure things out, and I don't know it all. Just because something has worked for me does not mean it's going to work for somebody else. But I figure if we can all share, you can learn from each other. Maybe you hear something here that you haven't done or thought about, and you're like, well, let me try it. Maybe you'll find out it doesn't work, but maybe it will work. Or, maybe you put something in the comments and I was like, oh, I have never heard of this, or I have to look into it. It can never hurt, I think, and I'm this eternal learner, lover. I never stop learning. I take courses, I do this all the time. Now that I can think again and focus. For a while there, I couldn't learn anything because I couldn't even stay focused. But as I started to improve and I started to get my digestive system a little bit under control, and I think my mast cells a little bit stabilized, then my blood sugar was out. I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for like 3 weeks straight at all. I mean, I was going nuts. Every time I thought I would fall asleep, my body would jolt awake. And I had this feeling that if I would fall asleep, I would stop breathing. It was the freakiest feeling ever. I mean, there was so many. And then if I kind of, I guess, fell asleep, I'm not even sure I fell asleep. It's almost like I just blacked out. Can't remember falling asleep and waking up. I was just missing 2 hours of my night that I wasn't aware of. But I don't know. I don't even know that I slept. It was weird. I tried medicines, Valium and things, and I tried all kinds of things, but none of it really worked. 2 hours was it, and then it worked the first night, maybe the second night, and then it didn't work at all. It was frustrating. So I think what turned it around was food, finally going the functional medicine route, figuring that out. And I focused on mast cells first and histamine, probably a little bit over the top. I got into all these Facebook page groups and stuff, and it was like freaking me out more than anything, and I was just freaking out, going a little bit extreme on that one. But at that point, I didn't know what was working. I didn't know what was going on in my body. I couldn't figure it out. The doctors kept saying, you're fine, there's nothing wrong, you have some inflammation, but we just need to give you anti-inflammatory. So they gave me those shots, cortisone in my knees to bring it down, and that didn't really work very much, like a couple days, and they came back. They gave me steroid medicine I took for like 10 days. That didn't do anything at all. I was freaking out. I was just freaking out. Nothing worked, and the doctors, whatever they gave me, either made me worse or didn't work at all. Then I had reactions to the medicines. They're like, oh, take B12 liquid under the tongue. I took that. I felt like I was just passing out. I couldn't get any air. I mean, I could breathe. It's not like my throat closes when I say I can't breathe. It just feels like I'm breathing and there's a vacuum and there's no oxygen in the air that I'm breathing. It was just weird. I felt like I was going to pass out. And so that wasn't good. So I started to freak out for all the, supplements. And I'm like, well, what can I take if nothing works? But, I don't know. Anyways, yeah, it was rough. And then from there, I just started to look into, I'm a big believer in nature. I've always been. And I always know nature provides for everything, and nature likes a balance. And I eventually, because all I could do was sit on the couch because I was on crutches. I couldn't walk. My knees were so bad, right? I had to just limp to the bathroom a couple times a day and then back on the couch. And that's all I did for literally 8 months. It was bad. It was so bad. I couldn't even watch TV. I couldn't follow it. It was just like my brain, it was overloading my brain. I was giving me panic attacks on top of already having panic attacks kind of steadily through the day. I was literally spiraling, and so mentally in any other shape, physically in any way, I was going down. I didn't look it. People are like, well, you look fine. I'm like, well, it's, you see, other than I had lost a lot of weight. I gained some back now, but I didn't look sick per se. So I was just literally then finally, when nothing was working as far as the meds and stuff and the doctors, I was like, there has to be another way, because I was raised on a big homeopathic kind of thing. We always had these herbal books, and my parents always would get these herbs in Austria, because I'm from Germany. We would go there every year, hiking the mountains in the summer, and they would get these herbs and they make tinctures and stuff, and that's how I was raised, on homeopathic natural stuff. And somewhere along the way, when I got to the States, I guess I got away from that, because here everything is medicine, and I kind of lost my connection to that. And I was like, you know what, I still have that book. I still have it, that book that we used. What is it called? Healing Through God's Pharmacy or something like that. It's translated. It's a German book. And Maria Treben is the author. You can get it in English. I've bought it for people. Anyways, and I, started thinking, well, nature always has a balance. I'm like, there has to be another way. And I like root causes as far as everything. I'm always like, why? And then when I find out the why of that, I'm like, well, why is that? And then the next why. And I'm just never stop. I'm almost like a philosopher who's always like, more why it is, that's how I work always have. And so I started to Google swollen knees. And then I went past all the allopathic and doctor, descriptions that always comes up first on your searches. And then and I was like, why is my knee swollen? What are all the causes other than you injured it, you stepped wrong on it, I don't know, you have something. All this was like, no, because I know I didn't. I had nothing had happened to my knee other than it just decided to swell up. I didn't bump it, I didn't, and so I was looking further, and then it got into inflammation. Like, well, what causes inflammation? Why would my knee be inflamed? What are other causes other than? And so I started to stumble into more this functional root cause, why something is even causing inflammation. And I stumbled over, inflammation is started from sugar and blood sugar spikes and drops, and that's how I found Dr. Maggie Yu. And then when I started following her, that gave me hope that there was something I could do. It wasn't doomed, you know what I mean? There was a way you could fix it. And so I started listening to her, little tidbits here and there. And I'm telling you guys, she saved my life. That lady saved my life. She gave me, I think in the beginning, it was just the hope I needed, because I had no more hope left that I would survive this at this point. I had given up at this point even. I had given up to that my life's going to be in a wheelchair in a couple of weeks, and then I'm just going to go downhill, and who knows how long it's going to take me before I'm gone. That's where I was. And she gave me hope that you can fix it. You can actually reverse it and get better. And I was like, okay. So I had something to focus on. And yeah, I focused on it intensely. And then, from there, then I got into functional medicine through her, because she's a functional medicine doctor. And then I found Dr. Mark Hyman and a couple others now that I'm following all of them now. But Dr. Maggie Yu was the first, and then Dr. Hyman. Those are the two. Just saying. Check them out if you haven't heard of them yet, or maybe you're still looking for answers or something. Check them out. Maybe you get something from them. There's others. There's plenty of them. There's the what is it called? The Institute of Functional Medicine. I guess you can go on their website and look up functional medicine doctors. Try whatever works for you. That's my story. This is how it worked for me, and that's how it went. And from there I just kind of figured out, blood sugar control, and I kind of just started implementing things, and this is how I got here now. But it's been a long road since 2021, and I'm still learning. I haven't figured it out all. There's many things that I don't have the money to take certain courses or even buy the supplements, because don't make that much money working in the deli at Publix, unfortunately. And so I'm just trying to do what I can with the money that I have and what I learn. And I'm still listening to Dr. Mark Hyman's podcast. I started with the first episode ever in 2018, and I'm now the end of 2020. It's a lot. There's a lot. And I try to take notes and stuff, so it takes a while, but I'm learning. I maybe want to take some courses, just wherever I can learn something, and I'll try it and see. But I'm just curious, what has worked for you, because I know people that still struggle a lot, and I know people like my neighbor even, she struggles with it, but for her, different things work than for me, because we talk sometimes, and I'm like, oh, I do this and it works, and she's like, oh no, I can't do that because I can't do rice. And I'm like, oh, there's no gluten in it or whatever. It's based on rice. And I don't do a lot of rice. I'm almost grain free too. I'm almost keto, almost. I eat some sugar, but I'm very close to keto. And I'm not that I want to become ketogenic, but I've learned that if you can train your body to burn fat rather than starch, glucose or whatever, sugar, it's much better for your brain also, because your brain loves ketones rather than the sugar. So but I'm not 100% sure if a straight keto I don't think would work for me. I am working on intermittent fasting. In the beginning, I could barely make 4 or 5 hours and I would be falling apart. I'm happy to say that yesterday I made it 14 hours and I was still doing good. I was getting to the point where I needed to eat, but I wasn't like shaky or anything. Okay, today was only 12 hours and I was like, I need to eat. But I'm managed now most of the time when I do it, and I cannot always do it because I come home late from work and I have to be back at work somewhat early, so I don't have a 12, 14-hour window to turn over, and I definitely have to eat a little bit before I go to bed, my healthy fat, fiber, protein snack to balance my blood sugar overnight. So, and then I definitely have to eat something before I go on my shift, because it's going to be 4 or 5 hours before I can eat again, and then I can't do that. But on my days off, or when I come home early maybe and go in later today, because my schedule is unfortunately always different, which is not beneficial for living with autoimmune disease. It would be better if I had a straight schedule, but that's okay. I'll try to work with it. I'm just so thrilled I can work at all. 3 years ago I would have never thought I'd even walk again, or live. So I'm just thankful I can work. And I literally spent most of my time not working, prepping that I'm ready to work for my shift. I mean, that's what I've worked towards, so I'm ready. I don't want to abuse my body when I'm off doing silly things, and then I'm, unfit when I have to go on my shift. So I really, while I'm off, I do anything that I can to be ready for my shift, that I can stand on my legs and, maybe even better than before. And, but yeah, so that's kind of my story again in a nutshell. I think I probably already told it before, but I will try those. Let me try. I am kind of curious what they taste like a little bit now. Let's see. Interesting. Almost like a nutty flavor. I can't even describe it. Not a very strong flavor. It's interesting because the Himalayan tartary buckwheat flour is very bitter, but this is not bitter at all. I was expecting it to be bitter. I can't even taste the cinnamon. I smell it, but I can't taste it. It's more like a nutty flavor. Actually not bad at all. If you can maybe add some nuts to it and maybe some fresh fruit like blueberries or blackberries are really good. In limits, so I've noticed I need to really limit. I think I was going over my fruit in consumption. I try to do a quarter of organic Granny Smith apple because of it's the most tart and the least sugar, I think, for the quercetin and all this, mostly the quercetin, I guess. Every day I eat a lot of quercetin. That's the one thing that I figured out right in the beginning when I was so sick and I was finding Dr. Maggie. I was like, quercetin. I need to find foods with quercetin because I need to calm down my mast cells and my histamine release. And I think I started off with red pepper. I was Googling histamine foods. It was parsnips and red bell peppers. I Googled it, and for some reason I came to the conclusion, I found out that supposedly they had one of the highest. I knew potatoes were bad, so I was like, well, what else can I eat instead of potatoes? So I came with the parsnips, supposedly they're high in quercetin. Don't quote me on that. I was not in my right mind when I found that out, but for some reason I thought so I started eating parsnips and red bell peppers for some reason. I think that was the vitamin C, because I think vitamin C was a big stabilizer too. And anyways, that's how I started. I ate those, and it actually, and probably because I also then cut out all the flour and sugar and that kind of stuff, which then dropped my blood sugar, which I'm sure was high at the time. I would have to look at my records. The doctors never told me that it was like diabetic or anything. I think the highest they ever said it was 97, which I know is diabetic in a way, but for the doctors, right, in an allopathic way, they don't really do anything over 100, 120 a lot of times. So they're always like, yeah, it's a little borderline, but so, and I'm thinking back of it now, I'm like, oh boy, I was like in trouble. So, it's supposed to be 70 to 80. I was way above that. I have to retest it. I don't have health insurance right now, so I haven't been back to the doctor to get it retested. I just don't have the money to pay out of pocket for all of this. And but I'll keep you updated when I do what my results are. and where I'm at now from the last time I had it done, at least. And so yeah, and then I had that, you know, I think that dropped my blood sugar already probably down a little bit, so maybe reduced some inflammation. And I just started with those, very little, you know. I just eat those because at that point I was only like eating 10 foods. I don't even remember what it was, just meat. Not even red meat. I was afraid of red meat because everybody told me don't eat red meat. So I think because high histamine, I was, you know, I was on all these. I was so afraid of oxalates, salicylates, lectins, and all these things. And because I was in these groups and they were scaring you to death, these support groups on Facebook, you know, they scared me to death about can't eat this and oh, this is like, and I don't know. They were saying all these things, and they had these spreadsheets about all these things with all these foods, and I was like, I can't keep up with this, you know. They literally have these Excel spreadsheets where they write everything down, every food, the lectin content, they have it lab tested, and the salicylates or whatever that's called, and the oxalates, and I mean, it was just like, I was, eventually I got out of that group. I was like, it's driving me nuts. I can't do this. So there has to be another way. Nature does not intend me to go out there and just, you know, if you would just be eating out there, nature always has a way, you know, and like animals, they don't count anything. They don't, you know, they just eat what nature provides and they're fine. I mean, lions, gazelles, birds, anything living out there, they just eat the food and they're fine without knowing about oxalates and lectins and all this kind of stuff. So I was like, there has to be another way. This can't be it. So I got out of these groups, which was probably good. And then, like I said, I found Dr. Maggie at the same time, kind of. So I calmed down a little bit, and I was like, okay, I shouldn't be, because she, you know, she always talks about the food fear, which I had severely. And I needed to get over that. So I started looking up. I said, let's not focus on the stuff that's supposedly bad in that way. Just find out what calms down my mast cells. And I started eating those. And as I did that, you know, and then I tried more and more things here and there, little by little. And I added some more things in. And at that point, I wasn't completely gluten-free, though. I still ate some bread, I guess, here and there. I was more concerned about just the histamine at that point. And then and stopping the weight loss. Believe it or not, for a little while I ate 2 tablespoons of Nutella every day. I mean, I love Nutella. I don't eat it anymore, but because it was literally the one thing that I could eat for some reason. I wasn't having any reaction, and it then stopped my weight loss. But then once I stopped losing weight, I didn't eat it anymore, but that was bad. I realized, and I was like, oh, this stuff is so bad. And too much sugar in there. But those were the early days, right, where I was really just trying to figure everything out. I had no idea about anything, really. I mean, no idea. And yeah, so little by little I came back up. You know, one thing led to another, and as I was watching more of Dr. Maggie's videos, the little stuff that she has out there, following on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, and I was just putting things together. You know, I was like, okay, let me try this, so let me try this, and let's not be so worried and so scared of the food, because fear then in itself creates a bad reaction, and you know, that causes stress, which is bad. So yeah, so here I am today, still trying to figure things out. I'm not perfect. I still have a long way to go in my mind, but I'm 100% better. Not 100%, 80% better, maybe 75, 80%. I think 80. Than I was before. I have more idea of what's happening. There's still some things like my digestion and stuff that I have questions where I was like, well, why is this happening? I don't understand when I do this or eat this. Where is this coming from? But until I can afford to see a functional medicine doctor again, I have to just either try to figure it out or kind of read in between the lines when you're on this podcast or something. Maybe I'll hear something, I'll share it. But here I am today, and started a little exercise program now. I do balance ball and stretching. Follow some people on Instagram, you know, about, especially, I started with hip, you know, because my hips, I realized my hips were very bad, inflamed, I guess, and stuff. So I started with hip stretching and hip mobilization, and just my joints in general are very stiff. And this elbow, I can't stretch completely. It's always bent a little bit. I don't know if you guys can see that. It's not straight like that one. This one was also like this, but it's straight now again. And this one is still a little bit. So I'm hoping eventually I can, with the exercises, maybe get it straight. So that's still something I'm working on, is the elbow stretching. Hopefully, eventually that joint will regenerate. I don't know. I'm hoping. My shoulders, all the joints have always pain. Right now it hurt because I just exercised earlier too. But so I started slowly with just a little bit of stretching here and there, just lightly. Because when you have so much pain, right, the last thing you want to do is add more pain to exercising. I know. So, yeah. And then from there, now I do, I have a balance ball. So I do some 7-minute ab blaster. It's like the longest 7 minutes of my life, even though it's getting better, it's getting easier. But the beginning I was like, I can never do this. 7 minutes seems like an eternity. I do some stretching. I have a yoga mat, so I do some stretching, some Pilates, whatever, it's a combination of everything. I just find things on I follow certain people, and then I'm like, oh, this exercise looks like something that could work for my knee or my hip or whatever, my mobility, and I do it, maybe find another one. So it's nothing. Again, I have no program, I have no trainer, I can't afford any of this at the time. I wish I could, but I can't. But it's helping, I'm building some muscle. I learned that I'm skinny fat from Dr. Hyman, so I have to, instead of be a marbled steak, I think he said, I have to become a filet mignon. So I'm working on trying to build more lean muscle and get rid of the belly fat, even though, I don't have a lot of belly fat, but there's some, so yeah, if it's wiggling when you jump, then you have too much. I think it's wiggling, I don't know. But I know it could get down a little bit because I never used to have this before menopause. I'm menopausal now, so that probably didn't help. And so I'm working on that, and the balance ball, some strength, a little bit. I have a couple of weights, very light ones. It's just like I said, you can do too much. In the beginning, the first time I started exercising, I did way too much, and I overdid it, and I went backwards. My joints started to get achy and kind of sore again, and red and hot, and I was like, oh no. So I'm really, when I do something now, I go very slow, very slow. Rather make almost no progress than go backwards, you know what I mean? So I just do very little, and then from there, my next goal, because I have balance problems still, it's really weird. That's why I always thought I had either myasthenia gravis or something, because my issues are from here in the back, the thorax area into my neck. That's my worst. That's where, like, it seems a lot of it comes from. And I do have a herniated disc at C4 and 5. And then I have one down in my lumbar L5, I think. I forgot. It's been a while, but yeah. But it's not just from that. But I have, like, sometimes I feel like mobility, coordination, mobility issues, especially if my blood sugar drops, though I notice it. And then, and I was so stiff, you know what I mean? I couldn't even, like, lay flat and have my arms out touching the floor, which I'm working on that exercise. And I couldn't turn like this. I mean, my whole spine is not very mobile. I'm working on stretching that and bending that. It helps. But my next goal is maybe trying if I can ride a bike again, because I have a feeling for right now, I still feel when I'm on a bike, I would probably lose my balance. Maybe not going straight, but if I would have to, like, turn, or maybe turn my head while I'm trying to go straight, because all this right here, guys, is super tight and hurts these muscles, and I'm trying to figure out how to work those muscles and loosen it or whatever. I don't even know what's wrong with them, but I'm guessing they're just tense from stress too, because I always tense. I'm a very stressed person, uptight person, always have been. Grind my teeth too, which I know is bad, but my jaw sometimes, I was like, oh. And then after that, I think if I can do the bike, my biggest goal right now is I want to be able to fly again. I would like to go to Germany, visit my family and friends there. But as of right now, and now I know why I had such issues always flying. I always hated flying because it made me feel so weird, because I already had issues all my life with POTS and stuff. I just didn't know. And I think flying with POTS maybe doesn't work. I don't know. And so I would like to feel stable enough in my daily doings where I don't feel I have any POTS issues or anything, that I maybe feel like I can go on an airplane and fly, because I would love to travel. And especially go to Germany, visit my family. That's one of my biggest goals. And not feel like I'm dying because I'm getting on this airplane, and then it'll be over, and then come back home maybe and be sick for another 2-3 months, or go backwards, you know what I mean? And just because it was just too much on my system. It's the same even sometimes in an elevator. When I'm in an elevator and it goes up and down, that change in pressure on in my thorax back here somewhere in the area, or my neck, I don't know what it is, my head, it makes me feel so weird. And that's the same, I guess, with the airplane. The pressure change when you go up and down. Even though going down feels better, I can handle that much better. But the going up part when the plane takes off, oh God, that's the worst for me. I feel like I'm dying. That pressure somehow, it's pushing you in the seat. And the downward is not so bad for some reason, but the upward's bad. Maybe that's because my blood pressure is going down. I really don't know what it is, but it's just, that's my next goal. I would like to, after riding the bike, I was ice skating the other day. I can ice skate again with my coworkers. I've been on the ice, which I never thought I would do. I mean, not that I can't ice skate well, but you know what I mean? I could go on the ice. I was ice skating. We went bowling and we played pool, and it was cool. I mean, it was actually something I could do, participate, and not, yeah, I was a little sore the next day, muscles hurting and stuff like that. But overall, I mean, I recovered well, and it was fun, and it was active, at least something we do. So that's something that even probably, I don't know, when I started working in Publix, I would have never done that right off the bat. We just started that about 6 months ago, the first time that we went ice skating, I think somewhere around there. When I started Publix, I would have never gone on the ice. I would have been like, yeah, no, that's not going to be me, you guys go. So I have made progress. It's just not, it's not where I used to be, and I don't know how much better I can get. You know, I'm sure it's never going to be like when I was 20. I'm not 20 anymore. But I think there's still some improvement left, probably, if I can figure out the right things to do or try or exercise, whatever. So I'm hanging in there. Anyways, it's been long enough. I've been babbling too much. It was just supposed to be a short video about the buckwheat. But yeah, let me know if you have any hints, or if that maybe resonates with you, and maybe we can, you know, exchange each other, what helps. I don't know, put some comments down, let me know. I will link the, if you want me to, I can link the Himalayan tartary buckwheat flour recipe link underneath the video once I figure out how to do that, because I'm not good with this whole social media stuff. I can record a video and upload it, and I can, you know, take a photo and upload it and even comment, but when it comes to all this, that's the next thing I have to learn, is cutting videos and all this stuff, and editing videos. Oh boy, that's going to probably take me a little while, so bear with me. And I hate being in front of the camera. I absolutely hate it. I'm rather behind the scenes, so it makes me feel weird. And but anyways, hope you guys have a good night. Hopefully this was informative, and hopefully we can start conversations and learn from each other. I would be loving to see you here on my channel. Bye.